Even after more than 70 years of the end of Nazi terror, the personal perspectives of the survivors of the Holocaust, through their memoirs, diaries, and books, create a very vivid image of the torments and inhumane brutality endured by them. Among the plethora of such books, one of the finest is Man's Search for Meaning by Dr. Viktor Frankl.
Hey guys, this is Bhavya and this is Geeta. And let's get started. Called one of the most enduring works of the survival literature, Man's Search for Meaning is based on the theme of survival, just like all its other contemporary pieces of Holocaust literature. However, the book stands out, with its focus being less on the personal travails and trials and horrors of the camp, but more on human ability to survive and endure against all odds. It is concerned less with why so many people died out there, but more on why anyone survived if at all. The book has a very subtly conveyed the message that humans cannot avoid suffering. However, they can derive a meaning out of it, making the experience worth it. Today, as more people have more means to live by and more meaning to live for, this book is more relevant. Apart from the philosophical aspects of this book is one of the most impressive works of psychiatric literature after Freud. However, unlike Freud's theory, which gave little to no consideration to spiritual and philosophical aspects of human experience, Dr. Frankl considered them to be the cornerstone for human examination. His writings, teachings, and lectures, along with the work of Logotherapy and Karl Rogers, were an important force in forming the concept that many factors implicate in the mental illnesses and in opening the doors to the variety of psychotherapies that existed. This was a major change from the structures of Adler and Freud, who believed that neurosis could be caused only due to one or just few reasons. That is, sexual repression and subconscious in case of Freud's theory, and the unfulfilled desires for power and inferiority in case of Adler's. To Dr. Frankl, however, behavior was driven more by subconscious and conscious need for purpose and meaning. Written with a very simple intention to help people prone to despair, this book has been a phenomenon since its release. So if you are a psychology student, this book is a must read and our video a must watch. And if you're not a psychology student, stay tuned, because by the end of it, we would entrust you into it. Self-promotion.
Dr. Viktor Frankl observed three phases in the inmates' mental reactions to the camp life. The first one being the period following his arrival, the second one, the period when he was well entrenched in the camp routine, and the third one, the period following his release and liberation. In the first period, they experienced shock. They faced the feeling of shock and immense horror when they were brought to Auschwitz. After that, one after another, shocking things was brought in front of them. They experienced something called the delusion of reprieve. Viktor Frankl said, and I quote, that the condemned man, immediately before he gets executed, gets the feeling that he might be deprived at the very last moment. People usually know that bad things happen in the world, but we never really think that anything that horrible would happen to us. And when we do experience something like that, we experience shock. Similarly, the inmates also faced shock. They were in denial and were hopeful that everything will be alright. These reactions represented a normal state of mind, but according to Viktor, an abnormal reaction to an abnormal situation is a normal behavior. After a few days, their reactions started to change, and the prisoners passed from the first phase to the second phase, the stage of relative apathy, which is basically an emotional death. Most of this book covers this phase. The prisoners in this stage no longer display any sort of emotional reaction to these situations. Disgust, horror, pity, the emotions that they couldn't feel anymore. They would lie in their rooms still, they would see dead bodies pass in front of them, and they wouldn't feel bad for the person. The feeling of apathy occurred in them because there was lack of motivation. And I think a lot of us have experienced this feeling of not feeling anything. I'm sure at least once in your life you said this, or you heard someone else say this to you, that life is not happening anymore, it's very dull and there's nothing to look forward to, and basically feel really demotivated. This was the same situation that was faced by the Indians. Then came the last and the final stage, liberation. You would think that, oh, finally something happy in the world. But was it really that happy? No. Since liberation came to them suddenly, they were all confused. The word freedom had lost its meaning. They had lost the ability to feel pleased anymore, and they had to relearn it. Can you imagine having to learn something that comes so naturally to us, like being happy or getting pleasure out of something? So yeah, they had to relearn everything. Liberation was something that they had always dreamt about, and when those dreams came true, they just couldn't believe it. However, their bodies had fewer inhibitions than their mind. They ate everything that they could and drank lots of coffee. Good use of freedom, guys. They also experienced bitterness and disillusionment when they returned to their former life, which threatened to damage their character. But there was no happiness that could compensate for all that they had suffered. Life is never meaningless, even under the most miserable circumstances. This is one of the most basic principles of Dr. Viktor Frankl's therapeutic approach, logotherapy. This third Viennese school of psychotherapy is founded in the belief that each human strives to find meaning in one's life that is the single most powerful, motivating, driving force in one's life. The basic difference between both these therapeutic procedures is that logotherapy is less retrospective and less introspective. Both these procedures are analytical in nature, but logotherapy focuses less on the past and more on the future. The main aim of logotherapy is to reorient a man's outlook towards his life. It tends to focus on the future and the goals to be fulfilled by the man in the future, for which he has to start working right now. In a logotherapeutic setup, the therapist is more of an ophthalmologist instead of a painter. An ophthalmologist tries to enable his patients to see the world as it is, but a painter, he tries to paint a picture of the world for other people. The therapist broadens and widens the visual field of the patient for him to see the spectrum of potential meaning available for him. Frankl speaks of a will to meaning in logotherapy and describes it as the primary motivation in one's life. He says that it is only when someone isn't aware of the meaning in one's life do they tend to get bored or distressed. Then, they resort to Freud's will to pleasure and Adler's will to power as compensation for their unawareness. According to logotherapy, there are three ways to create meaning in one's life. The first way is to do a work or a deed. The second way is to experience something or encounter someone. And third, the attitude that a man has in times of unavoidable suffering. Now, all this points to the explanation that when it comes to suffering, Frankl mentions that in no way is suffering necessary for a man to find meaning in one's life. But it is our attitude in times of the unavoidable sufferings that makes all the difference. For example, in the horrendous camps of Auschwitz, the one thing that kept Dr. Viktor Frankl going was his determination to rewrite his manuscript that had been confiscated. Similarly, others have different reasons and methods to stay alive in the camp and not commit suicide. Asking this question is like asking which is the best weapon in the world, when in fact the best one is the one that is nearest to you in times of danger. Similarly, the meaning of life in a man's life is never constant. It keeps on changing from hour to hour, from day to day, and so on. You may have a class test at 9 a.m., a date at noon, or you may be waiting for the arrival of a contract by the end of the year. The meaning of life at a particular time is specific. There is always something, and the very fact that we reach those goals, complete them, and move on to the next task shows responsibility on our part. Therefore, it is responsibility that eventually sustains us and has been termed as the essence of existence. Frankl says that our generation has undergone two major losses. Number one was the loss of the animal instincts that used to be embedded within a person that guided him as to what to do. And number two are the more recent traditions that have undergone a major loss and which told a man what he ought to do. And the result? This is what Frankl terms the existential vacuum, the emptiness within our lives. And this void is more often than not filled by boredom. He speaks of existential dynamics, which is like a polar field, wherein on one pole is the meaning that has to be fulfilled, and on the other pole is the man who has to fulfill it. Failure to discover this meaning in one's life could lead to prolonged periods of boredom and apathy, which results in what Frankl calls existential frustration. This frustration could be due to blocked goals or simply because of the unawareness of one's existence and could lead to neurogenic neurosis. But again, some amount of conflict is not necessarily neurotic or a mental disease, but instead it's normal. For example, you do not need to have the answer to what is the meaning of my life each time you ask yourself this question. Some people do have the long-term goals decided, but even if you don't, you can seek out the meaning of your life moment by moment. And again, this is what logotherapy is for. By focusing on what there is to live for, logotherapy is ideal for treating people with depression or suicidal intentions. Logotherapeutic interventions aim to rekindle the passion and the motivation that has been missing from your life and the zest which seems dead. Now let us take an example to understand a normal logotherapeutic setup. Frankl recalls a patient who had a stuttering problem. He stuttered almost all the time. Once, when caught by a traffic policeman for violating a traffic rule, he tried to elicit sympathy out of the traffic policeman by stuttering, but as it turns out, it was the one time that he did not stutter, but instead spoke fluently. Now let me break this example up for you. The part where he constantly wishes to not stutter is called hyperintention. It is a behavioral pattern wherein one continuously and obsessively aims for one particular result and is therefore unable to do so. And the one time that he actually wishes to stutter and he isn't able to is called paradoxical intention. That is reversal of one's attitudes towards their fear. By not focusing too much on self or on the result, that is by de-reflecting, one is able to focus more on the process rather than the result, and this reduces the hyperintention of doing something, and therefore one is able to do that one particular thing that they wish to do. For instance, if you aren't able to sleep at night, try this logotherapeutic technique. Try and think that you want to stay awake. Now, your hyperintention changes from wanting to sleep to wanting to stay awake, and now you are practicing paradoxical intention, that is reversal of your attitude towards your fear, which is not being able to sleep, and before you know, you will be asleep.
So this was all about the book. The book has emphasized that each one of us derives a unique meaning out of our lives, and so does every reader derives a unique meaning out of this book. So if you have read this book, please do share your meaning derived from this book in the comment section below. However, all that was said and written in this book came from the experiences of a Holocaust survivor, and we cannot compare our lives with that of the Holocaust survivors. So we'll be back again with another video wherein we will be discussing all that we have learned from this book and how all these teachings are still relatable and applicable to our real lives. So till then, stay tuned, and if you liked our video, please